Another day, another story. I turned around and saw Carver frozen in place, staring at something. There, in the remaining faint light, was a space suit about 20 feet away from us. I recognized the missing name patch and realized that it was the suit from the Russian spacecraft. It was standing upright, on its feet. The sunshield was open to reveal a sight that terrifies me to this day. It was empty. The suit was empty. But it was standing upright. I came back to my senses after I heard a crackling noise coming from my radio. You don't belong here. It spoke in a low, deep, distorted voice. Then out of nowhere, I was blinded by an intense flash of light. When I recovered, the thing was gone. "Carver? Are you all right?" I asked. He was silent at first, and then replied, "Man, fuck NASA, fuck the Army, fuck the satellite, fuck this whole mission. I want to get out of here, now." Without any debate, we ran to the rover, and drove off back to Karen. When we came back, the sun had already fallen below the horizon, and it was almost completely pitch black. The airlock was open and Tarkov was standing in front of the module in his suit. Damn it. In the rush, we completely forgot about him. I approached him and started. "Listen, Tarkov, there is something you..." I stopped when I noticed that he was holding something behind his back, but it was too late. He swung and struck me with a sharpened rod. I hit my head on the inside of my helmet and dazed fell to the ground. When the ringing in my ears stopped, I saw him and Carver fighting in the dust. I stood up and thrown myself into Tarkov, propelling us both a dozen feet away. Before I was able to stand up again, he was already on top of me. We struggled, and just as he got grip on the lever that was used to release my helmet, I struck his head with a sharp rock. His visor cracked, and while his air was slowly escaping his suit, I picked myself up and grabbed the rod. It was already stained with blood. He lunged at me, but I stabbed him in the chest. He then fell on top of me, and when our helmets touched, he spoke as the last of his air was pulled out from his lungs. "He is not your friend. Follow the voice." I picked myself up and walked over to Carver. I saw that his suit was punctured on the thigh, and brownish red blood was being sucked out into the airless vacuum all around us. When I brought him inside the Karen, I realized that our first aid kit was gone. He was bleeding a lot, and I managed to slow it down, but I had to treat him properly. I was afraid that if we took off, he would bleed out in zero gravity even faster. "There was a med kit in the Russian thing, wasn't it?" he said. "Yeah," I replied. "Miller, you have to go and get it." "Fuck. It's not that far from here, is it?" said Carver. "No, it's not. Are you sure you can hold on until I get back?" I asked. "Yeah, just go." So I went. "Don't die on me, Carver. That's an order," I said before leaving. As I said, it didn't take long until I reached the Russian lander, but it felt like ages. Throughout the whole journey, I waited for something to jump out of the darkness around me. I wasn't surprised when I saw that the suit that was previously hanged on the wall was now missing, but still, I felt a shiver run down my spine. I took their medkit and headed back as soon as I could. But I couldn't stop thinking about Tarkov's last words. "He is not your friend. Follow the voice," I kept repeating inside my head. I then switched the channel on my radio to the one we heard the incomprehensible noise on. It was still on. I realized that it was stronger in one particular direction. "Follow the voice," I said to myself. Was this the voice Tarkov meant? Who is not my friend? Tarkov? Carver? The mission commander back at Earth? I had to find out. I drove off in the direction of the signal. After driving for at least 15 minutes, I reached a small crater about 30 feet in diameter. With my headlight on, I immediately saw that something was inside, but I couldn't recognize it yet. I stepped over the edge and walked into the crater and switched my light to full intensity. I stood there, paralyzed with raw terror for what felt like hours. There was a rectangular block of the same material as the pyramid in the center of the crater. A body was lying on top of it. Its limbs were contorted in the most twisted and gruesome way possible. His eyes were missing, and in their place were only 2 gaping holes. It was Carver. There was a small box stuffed inside his mouth. It was the black box from the satellite. I took the box and ran out of there as fast as I could. Carver was dead. If Carver was dead, who was the Carver I left in the Karen? "He is not your friend" was the only thing I had on my mind the rest of the way back. When I returned, Tarkov's body was gone, but Carver was still there, lying, bleeding. But it wasn't Carver. What was that thing? "Thank God you're back," Miller said. "Carver." "Not Carver. Carver was dead. Mutilated. Dead. Miller, are you alright? Continued not Carver. Yeah, I've got the kit, I replied. He couldn't know that I know. It couldn't know. I treated its wound and the bleeding finally stopped. I strapped him in, strapped it in, and then strapped myself in. I didn't tell him, that I had found the black box. I didn't tell it that I found him. With the engine roaring below us, the Karen split in half, and the crew compartment pushed us up, into the void while the legs stayed planted on the lunar dust eternally. Now I already wrote on several occasions, that I had felt minutes pass as if they were hours. The ascent and rendezvous took only a bit more than a dozen of minutes. But those minutes felt like decades. I wanted to scream so loud that my lungs would break and I wanted to vomit. But I couldn't because it would find out. I wanted to black out, but I couldn't. I had to save Ackerman. After several lifetimes, we finally docked with Ackerman in the Trinity. Throughout the whole ordeal, we kept him updated, but meeting him was different. He was scared. But I was scared even more. He didn't know that Carver was not Carver. I did know. Thanks for watching.